Welcome to the Intercut News Podcast, where we take you through the latest happenings in the world of entertainment. I'm your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, getting his appetite ready for some authentic Austin brisket, it's Arturo Zurita.
Austin is that one place where you're there for the snacks more than you are the meals, to be honest with you. It's the most delicious film festival of them all because it takes place in Texas. But they also have a great lineup of movies we're going to be going through, and then all the news as we've separated kind of into a news day and then all of our Monday movie nights reviews. So if you're in the chat, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. I know we had some questions from y'all that were sent earlier or that are going to be sent in the chat. So a lot to talk.
Yeah, as we try and break this podcast down and make it a little bit easier for you to get all the bits that we want to talk about, we are dedicating a new sort of live stream to just talking about whatever is happening, whether that is new film festival lineups dropping, award shows, big casting announcements, or whatever. We'll start getting into it in these live streams. But the topics today are the Oscars and South by Southwest, because there's a lot of things to talk about with both of those on the horizon. About a month away from the Academy Awards, and even less for South by Southwest. Is there one you're maybe a little more excited for than the other?
I'd say because South by is more like that topic to get into. It's a whole festival. I say we can go through that. Yeah, probably towards the end. But we did get a bunch of news for the Oscars that's coming up. Like you said, it's not just a month away, but the voting is about to be right around the corner. So we're getting all of what's my favorite part of the year, all the salacious articles from the voters, all of the anonymous people who are letting you know all the behind-the-scenes buffoonery that happens, not just at the Oscars, but through the industry in general. And a lot of good stuff to read, but all the voting will be happening, I believe you said the first week of March?
Yeah, I think that's when it opens, and it runs through the first couple of weeks of March or something like that. So, will be interesting to see how different developments and different awards from the other big awards impact the Oscars races. The big topic, obviously, that we haven't covered yet on Intercut is the news of Oscars host, because a couple weeks ago word slipped that the Oscars ceremony would once again feature a host, which is good news for fans of the Oscars. The broadcast has always been at its best when it features
when they have a host.
Yeah, a charismatic, funny person who can guide the show between segments. Optimistic awards watchers threw out pie-in-the-sky names like Tom Holland, Zendaya, Dwayne Johnson. Then news broke that the host would be hosts, not just 2 but 3. And Twitter went wild with their best guesses, some serious and others not so much. Tom Holland and the other Spider-Man, the cast of Charlie's Angels, the trio from Superbad maybe. I would have liked that one, actually.
All right.
Finally, the Academy Awards announced a trio of Regina Hall, Amy Schumer, and Wanda Sykes. And would be taking. You
sound ecstatic.
They would be taking reins of the show, a move that seemingly pleased no one, including Schumer, who commented that she wasn't sure why she was asked to host. Now, I'm actually a fan of all 3 of the performers, but I can't help but think, are the Oscars any better off going with these 3 than not announcing a host at all? Like, are they moving the needle or getting new viewers involved with this selection?
Bro, doesn't it feel like they're literally making up for the last 3 years where they didn't have a host? So they're like, we're going to give you 3.
Right.
Mind you, yeah, the Oscars have had multiple hosts in the past, and there's been some really iconic duos notoriously, and also because they've been done really well. This is a trio where I don't see how they're going to play off of each other. I think out of the 3, Wanda is easily the best one when it comes to a stage. We're coming off Regina being a great
The thing that I've been hearing is that they're actually splitting the broadcast up, that one will take the first third, another will take the middle, and then I think Sykes is going to take the final third of the broadcast.
Okay.
Which is
what's interesting about that is, yeah, because remember, this one is being produced by Will Packer, who's done a lot of the Kevin Hart movies, which is why we were speculating, like, is Kevin Hart finally going to get his due? There's no one to say that he's not going to come out and do a bit, though. Because remember, these are the hosts. It doesn't mean that that gets away all the presenters and people who are going to do any one of their sketches. I don't get how they're going to split it up. Like it should be the three as the intro, whatever the opening is going to be.
Right.
Then it should be whoever's going to handle a certain category, the second category, and the third category. Are they defaulting back to announcing the awards the way that they used to? Because remember, there was a whole debacle of last year, the way that they flipped what the final award was going to be. And then there's also the idea of what extra things are they adding? Who gets to announce whatever the big award is? There's that idea of they never got the best popular one. Mm-hmm. Or the most popular award to go. So now we have the Twitter one. And I'm sure you've been updated on how that's been going.
We will get to that soon.
Okay. In terms of the hosts, I don't think any of them are bad. I just don't see what has them defining the year in movies. Because even with Regina, who I think she has 2 great performances, they're not out yet. So it's just going to be interesting to see how they play off of each other. But obviously it's Packer who has the ideas because he's the one who's producing it, and he has a certain format that he's going to go for it. I don't think none of the ladies are bad performers in any sense. I think they can all hold up to the hosting abilities. Whether the award ceremony itself can hold up to it is another story.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's such a strange collection of talent. Like, I like all 3 of these performers, but, like, why pair them in this way? Why... Like, I don't know if they even appeal to hugely different markets either. Like, I'm surprised with all the talk of, like, trying to get maybe somebody from the Marvel universe to play host and bring some of that audience in, that they don't have some kind of bigger movie star or younger appealing movie star. Like,
because they want that.
Yeah.
They tease it.
Like, you know, it's strange because, you know, maybe Amy Schumer would have been a more interesting choice 5 or 7 years ago when she was a hotter name, and now she's just not at a point of her career where that pick really feels like makes a whole lot of sense. Wanda Sykes is someone who I like a lot, but doesn't have the kind of like name cachet that is going to make somebody who wasn't planning on watching tune in. They all make sense to me as presenters, but like no one really feels like they're going to be from this trio, like a kind of iconic host that's going to make the show resemble what it once was in a way that I think they kind of hope that a host can do. I don't know. It isn't a traditional pick, but it doesn't really feel like it makes a whole lot of sense to me. And it also bugs me because we floated the idea previously of the Only Murders in the Building trio being the Oscars hosts. And there are reports that they did go out to them, but that they couldn't fit it into their schedule while shooting season 2, which shows me how like last minute this scramble to find Oscars hosts is, that they can't fit around shooting a season of television when they all work for the same like conglomerate. You know what I mean?
Because it's Hulu, yeah. Again, for those who remember, as we saw, our boy in the chat was talking about Pete Davidson, and obviously ABC came out and said no, he's associated with NBC, so we're not making a deal with it. And that opened up a lot of people's eyes to be like, wait, that's something that happens in the industry? Oh boy, just wait till you figure out how many deals haven't been made or have been made because of those ties. I don't know if they're going to deliver on what they have. We'll see. I'm hoping for the best, right? We don't know until we see the show.
Yeah.
But it is confusing to think that y'all got rid of the hosts, and then in bringing them back, this doesn't even feel like a prepared choice. It feels like a last-minute one. I'm assuming it's from Packer, but we'll see how they divide it up.
Yeah. And ultimately, like, these shows and these hosts are only as good as the writing. So hopefully, I don't know if they announced who the head writer is going to be. I'm kind of curious to see what that ends up being.
Kevin Hart.
Are there any people that you hope maybe get or you would have been happier to see host or names that you could have been better here?
I just want to say it's 22, 22, 22, 222, add 222. It's 3 for you, but I think it's 2 for me. Okay. So with that, I would say that in terms of presenters, the way that you were mentioning this concept that they really want to boost their ratings and they know that Marvel is right there. The only thing more annoying than not wanting to recognize Marvel, not because they don't want to, but because they don't have the balls to receive all that backlash, is that you have the easiest scapegoat. Make them a host. Make them a presenter. I don't see how that doesn't fill up a bunch of the stuff. We've had Woody and Buzz appear as presenters.
Right.
You have the ability to to do some of the most creative things with all of the animations and everything that we have out there. From the Squid Game cast to everything, you can make it a very international thing for all the pop culture stuff that you do. But then they default to whatever the ABC drama that's playing for the spring is. And those actors come out. All I know is I don't want those. They need to get rid of that, because a lot of the time these award shows, what they're doing is marketing for their upcoming shows and having those stars come out and say something. Mm-hmm. And then it looks really dumb when you're watching that telecast back and you're like, what? The Equalizer show? The Take It? What was that? I want something that has already cemented itself in pop culture and is reflective of that year. That's what the presenters should be. Presenters from something in 2021 that stood out, not your seasonal show.
Absolutely. And we love Regina Hall, Queen of Sundance, but those are movies that are not out yet. Although Master actually might be out by the time the Oscar ceremony happens, so maybe a little relevant.
See if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I don't know. I just think there's so many names out there that could have been interesting. That I don't know why this is ultimately what we go with. I've mentioned Seth Rogen in the past, and we've talked about Only Murders. The thing about Only Murders is also you get in Selena Gomez, who then is maybe that kind of like younger, appealing star, but I don't know.
The whole thing is antiquated because you can still only watch them on ABC. I am hoping that they have the telecast broadcast on Hulu, but even then, we need to be on YouTube. We need to have stuff on Instagram, Twitter. I think they make it a little too difficult to even catch the broadcast when you have so many more platforms to be able to expand upon. So I think they're behind on a lot more than just the hosts and how they're running the show as a presentation.
I mean, the ratings have been going down year after year, last year's being the worst by far. So
they're going to fix it. They're gonna fix it.
We'll see. I don't have the high, because the thing is, they're chasing ratings that aren't coming back, right? Like more and more people are cutting the cord, and it's just not. You're
hearing what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're hoping that the people who are no longer there are there instead of going to the platform in which they're at. Mm-hmm. But hey, maybe they're over on Twitter, right? Because that's where they're funneling, I guess, what their newest category is going to be.
On that segue, following their failure to nominate Spider-Man No Way Home, or an equally popular film, for Best Picture, the Oscars are adding an unofficial fan favorite category to the ceremony. Using the Oscar fan favorite hashtag on Twitter, anybody can vote for their favorite film to receive an honor during the Oscars broadcast. The voting is open already, and according to a report from Deadline, it is Amazon Prime Video's Cinderella, starring Camila Cabello and James Corden, that is leading the way. Art, what would the funniest result be from this award? Would it be Cinderella?
I'm literally trying to think of what could possibly top that. And I think only because Sonic was in 2020 that those fans didn't come in to push it. Nothing would be more hilarious than Cinderella being acknowledged at the awards.
Yeah.
That's pathetic. That's damn near pathetic. And I think it shows you, don't be doing foolish stuff like this. It makes no sense. You're not the People's Choice Awards. Mm-hmm. Your whole thing is the Academy, and now you're trying to find the easiest way to honor something without feeling responsible for it. That's lame.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like,
as much as it was a setup.
As much as it feels like they want, the Spider-Man thing here, like whatever can get the most like stan energy, like I don't really want it to be House of Gucci because that almost feels like it belongs here a little bit more. But yeah, a Cinderella is perfect. Like, even is it too late for a Sia's music campaign or something like that? I'm hoping it is the most embarrassing film for them possible, because like it's not what the ceremony is about, and I hope it feels as incongruous as possible. The best popular film Oscar makes more sense to me than doing something like this, even.
Yes. This is even dumber than their original idea.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff to look forward to with the Oscars, even if they're making some interesting choices there. But maybe the Oscars aren't your favorite choice of awards ceremony. We got an interesting question over on the Intercut Discord, which you can find a link to in our description below or for the podcast. I want to say that the question came from Devesh, but I'm not 100% sure, so I'm sorry if I'm giving this to the wrong person. They asked, what award show do you find yourself agreeing with the most? I threw this question to you yesterday to think about. Do you think you figured out what award show I was going to bring up?
You said it was televised. You said it's an award ceremony that tends to not just nominate, but even honor the people who we like to see the most. And I'm assuming that a certain actor from Uncut Gems did, in fact, get the recognition he deserved in this Independent Spirit Award ceremony.
Let's go. It is the Independent Spirit Awards. Yeah. I mean, they are kind of the cool Oscars at this point, right? They nominate a lot of similar movies, but not the movies that have like a huge budget. They end up picking some really cool indie picks. You know, A24 definitely has a much larger presence at a ceremony like this. IFC always has a large presence. You see here, there's a couple Sony Pictures Classics films, and what is that one? Oh, that's Whiplash getting in there. And there's so many good movies that end up nominated for Best Picture, or even in some of the lesser categories at the Independent Spirit Awards. I feel like it's the ceremony that's most in tune with my personal tastes as a film fan. Now, that might not be everybody's taste. Maybe you are more of an Oscars person. Maybe I know some people who are like, the movies that the Cannes Film Festival picks every year tend to be my favorites. And like, sure, if that's your taste.
The MTV Movie Awards, you know, they put on a presentation like nobody else. The Teen's Choice, Critics' Choice, all that stuff. What I do like about the Independent Awards, and I would throw in Gotham as well to talk about the nominations, is that they tend to at least recognize movies that other people won't know about. We were having a discussion about the Oscars, and you were saying like, oh, it's because of the Oscars and now people know House of Gucci. Nah, I don't think so. I think that there are some that are really tiny, but even the tiniest one, no offense, ends up being like the Darkest Hour that still has Gary Oldman. Even the tiniest one ends up being the biggest international film, which is Drive My Car. That's not to say more eyes don't deserve to be on that. It's just saying they've had no problem with that movie. Gotham is focusing on those movies that played at a festival and you don't even know exist. By this point, if the Oscars mean anything to you, I think you may be aware of what Drive My Car is, but there are movies you didn't even know are in the circuit, and that's why I appreciate Gotham. I appreciate the Independent Awards. And then even more than that, I feel like they've always done a pretty good job with their hosts. I think they don't have a problem with being able to do bigger jabs.
Aubrey Plaza hosted them.
She killed it that one year. Yeah, that was
John
fantastic.
Mulaney and Nick Kroll are really good when they've
done
hosted
doubles,
there.
right? Yeah. So those are things that I really appreciate from them, and it kind of feels a little bit more personal. The Oscars feel more business, like acquaintances, everyone in the room. Where the Independent Spirits, it's like they were just waiting in line for the bathroom together because they probably only have two, so they like intimately know each other more. It feels during that ceremony, which I also appreciate.
Yeah, it's like the cheaper Golden Globes in terms of the ceremony.
Exactly.
It's the PBR Golden Globes or something.
They're not as drunk because they didn't have the hiding stuff. But that's a good question. I'm curious to see what other people's award shows may be.
Yeah. We got a question from Flick Fan, which is a nice segue into our next topic. What is the best movie that you've seen at any South by Southwest film festival? His is Short Term 12. Art, you've been to more South by Southwest film festivals than I have. What's the best memory you have from seeing films there?
And we're talking about like being there, right? Not something that came from the lineup.
Like I don't think you should count like a Get Out or something that played, or Us was the one that debuted there, right? But
yeah, Us debuted. If I would have caught it, but I wasn't there to see that one on opening. Like I was able to see Booksmart and found it hilarious. Good Boys and found it hysterical. Those were movies that I very much enjoyed from that aspect of the viewing experience. But in terms of probably the best, I'm pulling up my list here and looking back at last year. I know Ninja Baby and The Fallout were two of my favorites that you can probably catch right now as they're out and about. But the only South by that I've been to until this year, it's been a minute, but it was 2019 South by. That was the year Good Boys came out. I had at the top of my list The Art of Self-Defense, which I got to catch there. Booksmart, Yes, Scott, Yes, which was a funny little movie. And Peanut Butter Falcon, which would probably be the biggest drama that I have there.
Nice.
And Who Let the Dogs Out. I think this is available on Hoopla. It's the story of the Baha Men and discovering not just how the song was created, but they actually figure out who let the dogs out. So I like South by. It's really interesting to go to different festivals and seeing what risks they're willing to take and what categories, and you get to see a nice collection of different movies you wouldn't see elsewhere. And again, all the movies on a rating scale of smelling, which we were talking about on the Patreon Hangout, get a 10 out of 10 at South by because they smell delicious.
Yeah, absolutely. As for me, like I've only done the one virtual South by last year, so I have a little bit less to pull from. But you kind of mentioned all the ones that I would think of. Ninja Baby was one that I thought was really funny.
Incredible.
The Fallout was one that I thought was really affecting and really well told. I don't know if you mentioned Violet from Justine Bateman. That one was really affecting and a really cool movie that's done differently than I think a lot of other movies. So we can go back into our coverage from last year's South by, and I think we actually ranked our favorites from the festival last year. Yeah, they always have a lot of cool movies. I've admired it from afar because unlike Sundance or Cannes or New York Film Festival, South by really leans into genre and particularly comedy. Like a lot of really cool comedies have premiered at South by, so it's usually an exciting slate.
Yeah, I mean that's why those were my top picks. I think exactly. I think that's where they excel the most because I was going to say horror, but I was like, nah, that would still be Fantasia. That would be somewhere else. I was like, what's the thing that they have best? And it's that. On top of it, South by, for those who don't know, is a like multi-festival. It's not just the film. There's concerts going on simultaneously, an entire education program, seminars. All of it is like this entire conference that takes over the city.
That's the thing. Like when I do get the chance to go actually go down there for South by, I'm really excited to see just how like all the things that are happening, because unlike those other film festivals, it is more of a like multi-entertainment experience where you can go and check out some concerts or check out some comedy or listen to a panel from some tech leaders. It's a really cool festival.
They get good speakers.
Yeah, and yet like they don't neglect on the film half. Like the film part is usually really solid. I'm not so sure how you feel about this year's festival. I was a little bit not wowed by the top half of the festival, but digging into the depths of it, there's a lot of really interesting films there. If you look into the narrative competition, look into the narrative spotlight, look into the global, you'll find some really interesting stuff. So we will check out the different categories, breaking down the South by Southwest Film Festival. Should we go through this category by category and highlight some favorites?
Yeah, we could do a little skim. I know I separated mine between all of the narrative categories to the docs in terms of what were the standouts to me. But it is important to note that while they do have an online one this year, and I'm sure most have heard us say it, South by is a festival that doesn't do individual tickets. It is an entire pass that you would need to get. And our own personal thing is that it's not worth it for $500.
Yeah.
So while we are going through the thing, I always am honest with y'all. Like even the Sundance Pass this year, I said, hey, it was worth it last year. We found out more details, wasn't worth it this year. 500 is a little too much.
It's pretty steep.
But if you are going or you find a way to be able to, I don't know, somehow snag something, these would be the ones that stand out the most. And I think let's just start off with the headliners. Well, surprisingly,
just to go back, like because of that huge price tag, like maybe you'd think it'd be worth it if you get to access to every single film in the lineup. You don't get access to every single film in the lineup.
You get most, but there is the 6 headliners that will be premiering there, the big movies that people want to go to. They would not be available on the online pass. But Zach, ain't they available 2 weeks after they premiere at South by? Go through them.
Pretty much.
Well, what's your most anticipated?
So there's talking about most anticipated, I'm taking into consideration the fact that most of these are going to be available soon. I mean, if we're taking that out of the equation, Atlanta might be my most anticipated. Like, I cannot wait. It's been a couple years since we got new episodes of that Donald Glover show. But I think you said it's going to be on FX 2 days later?
Like, literally 2 days later. I could pull you up the exact dates here. It is showing on the final day, and it is premiering on March 24th.
Yeah.
I think South by ends the 19th. No reason to be there. It's interesting. All of the headliners will be playing the first couple of days, like literally the first 4 days. So if you don't want to stay the whole week at South by and you were going just for those, just know that you can catch them all right away.
Right.
For me, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. That's my standout. Yep. It's the new one from the Daniels, who did Swiss Army Man, one of our favorites. They split up for a little bit, and one of them went to go do the Death of Dick Long, which we all collectively saw together at Sundance, and just took a cool big shower afterwards. This one looks fantastic. It's a whopping 139 minutes, but it's led by Michelle Yeoh, as she's a Chinese immigrant who realizes that she it's dealing with the multiverse or something.
Yeah,
I'm multiverse out, bro.
But they seem like they're doing it in a really interesting way. Like they're not gonna just kind of take a bunch of shortcuts and they're going to actually be very playful in the way that the Daniels are always really playful from their work in Swiss Army Man and their many shorts and music videos and stuff. I've just been eagerly anticipating whatever they're going to do next, so that it's here, that's definitely
googly eyes and everything.
It's probably my number one most anticipated of the next 2 months.
Same.
So
because she's also trying to do her taxes in the midst of all of that. It's such a goofy premise. My second would be Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. This one does not have a premiere date from what I know, but if I'm not mistaken, was picked up by A24, and it's a headliner here. Stacked cast: Amandla Stenberg, Maria Bakalova, who literally just is coming off of an Oscar nomination from last year, Pete Davidson, Skeet's in here, Rachel Sennett, who many of you know from Shiva Baby. I'm here for it. It seems like a game of Mafia that these girls are playing in this really rich mansion, and then people actually start dying. So with the Among Us craze, I feel still being in the midst, a lot of people are going to gravitate towards this movie, and I think you believe that this may be coming out summer, the way A24.
A24 usually likes to have some kind of crowd pleasy fun movie in the summer, some horror movie to try and get butts in seats, and they haven't announced their summer slate yet, so I wouldn't be surprised, given that most of these South by movies are pretty much ready to premiere, if Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is not that far in the future.
Yeah. Surprisingly, the one that you can actually catch the earliest, because that doesn't come out until April 22nd, is my third favorite, Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Zach, we covered a comedy sci-fi, a comedy horror, and a comedy action film. It's all comedy with a little bit of something else. That's what I love about South by.
Exactly. You're going to have a good time. Right,
yeah, I think most people know about this one, so it's really just a matter of how excited people are. But every time this trailer plays in movie theater, the people go crazy. There's always one person who hasn't seen it and is flipping out over wait, he's playing himself. So I am extremely excited for this one as well, and that will be having its premiere, but going wide in April.
Yeah.
I don't know about Apollo.
I will give one more shout out to Apollo 10.5, like you were about to say, because it is a new Richard Linklater film, and Linklater, he can be a little bit hit or miss, but when he hits, it's some of the greatest films that have ever been released. This is him returning to rotoscoping, which is something he's done in A Scanner Darkly and Waking Life. He's perhaps one of the more interesting filmmakers when it comes to the use of that technology in order to kind of blend reality and fiction and nonfiction, reality and fiction, and kind of give you some more existential ideas. I don't really know much about this one other than it's focused on the space race, but it seems like it could be cool. It's a Netflix movie, as we've mentioned in the past, so it's also one of the ones that's currently undated, but hopefully will be out not too long after South by Southwest.
Can you guess it?
I'm going to say May 15th.
I was going to say, can you guess what kind of comedy it is?
Oh.
If we got a sci-fi, comedy, action, comedy.
Is this a comedy too? It's got Glenn Powell in it.
It's being pitched as a comedy adventure, baby. Any sub that you can get, they're going to put it in there. Comedy, whatever. Comedy torture, they'll probably have in the midnight section as well. And then also The Lost City. We don't need to mention too much of that one. Looks cute, looks funny. That'll be out there. But it's decent headliners.
They always have one or two big studio comedies that feel what is this doing at a film festival? But for South by, it makes a lot of sense. It's a great movie to go to the theater and everybody brings a beer and has a good time, and then comes out of the theater saying this is the greatest comedy of the year, and then everybody sees it a month later.
And then it's not.
It's okay.
Stuber would like a word. Those were the headliners from there. I don't know if you have another one that stands out to you. We have the narrative competition.
Yeah, let's Spotlight. Get there. The first one that stood out to me in narrative competition was I Love My Dad, partially because this one stars Patton Oswalt, and it looks like it might be a little bit more dramatic, not a straight drama, but like maybe the young adult mold that I think he's really good in. And it also has a pretty intriguing premise about a father who catfishes his son, and the writer-director says it's based on his own father.
Sheesh, okay.
What about you? Anything in narrative feature competition stood out?
I'd see that one. It looked pretty interesting. My top three would have been A Lot of Nothing, which I believe it's a group of like friends who are hanging out together when like something happens next door. Soft and Quiet can either be a masterpiece or the worst movie we're probably going to see in the fest. And they've done this in the past with a movie called Sword of Truth, which had to do with like a far right sword that they were trying to collect or something from the Confederate, and they have to make like a deal with it. Mark Maron was in it. Either way, they've upped the ante with this movie, Soft and Quiet, playing out in real time. It's about a runaway who becomes a female white supremacist, an elementary school teacher, and is trying to gather the daughters of the Aryan Unity to prove that some garbage is, I don't even know, bro. It sounds ridiculous. It's supposed to be like an inversion of like Black Klansman. That one woman in Black Klansman, like imagine if she got a feature film, and I guess that's what it's trying to focus on. It's being pitched as a drama thriller, and like I said, it can go one of two ways. It can be a masterpiece, or it could be the worst thing that's going to play at the fest. But my top here would be Seriously Red. This is a musical comedy that really stood out to me. I know it's an Australian feature, and the director of this actually worked on a music doc last year called Under the Volcano, which played at South by, about that studio where all the legends played at, and now it's covered in lava. I'm very curious to see what they do with this, because it goes back on Dolly Parton, Elvis, Kenny Rogers, Neil Diamond, so I'm curious to see what they do.
Yeah, it also stars a couple people we like in Rose Byrne and her husband, Bobby Cannavale. A lot of the films that are in South by have these like intriguingly short premises that are like very vague. This one on the website just says, "Find out who you are and do it on purpose," which kind of made me interested in this one too.
I like that.
All right, should we talk?
Yeah, it's a pretty solid narrative.
Yeah, should we talk about the documentary feature competition?
All right, let's go. Because there was, again, I'm halfway through these, but I know that there was a bunch that stood out.
I have a top three if you want me to go first.
Shoot.
I think the first one on the list, Bad Axe, looks pretty interesting. A real-time portrait of an Asian American family as they are fighting to keep their restaurant alive through the pandemic. There's a lot of interesting things that have come out about just like that, what it's been like to go through the past couple of years, particularly for Asians in this country. So it's a very intriguing premise to me. The movie Spaz, further down the list, about Steve Williams, who did a lot of work in computer animation for Hollywood, including on the digital dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. Always cool to get a little bit more insight into the movies that we love. But the one that sounds the most intriguing from this slate to me is Clean, this one from Australia, which sounds like it's a verite look at a group of cleaners who clean up like crime scenes and stuff like that. They're trauma cleaners.
Wow.
Yeah, it's got me sold from the premise, so I'm definitely going to try and catch that one.
Sick.
Anything from documentary feature stood out to you?
I have some for the other ones because there's some very interesting profiles that are being made this year.
So let's go to Narrative Spotlight if you have anything you want to talk about there.
I'm going to pull this one up right here. It's interesting the way that they handle theirs. At Sundance, their Spotlight category would be like the festival favorites from other ones. But South by already has that. It's called Festival Favorites. So their spotlight, surprisingly, really is on movies that I believe have played elsewhere, but have not had the, the big opportunity to be seen elsewhere. Mm-hmm. Spin Me Round, a comedy from Jeff Bana. He's done Horse Girl, Little Owl, Life After Beth. So, of course, they were going to have Aubrey Plaza and, what's Horse Girl? What's her name?
Alison Brie?
Yeah, this is about a manager at an Italian restaurant who realizes that she's going to go on this romantic getaway. I think that's all people need to know about these two actresses and romantic getaway.
Look, the first image is Aubrey Plaza and Alison Brie on a Vespa. I mean, how much more do you want from a movie, really?
All you need. I also have To Leslie. Just a shout out to that one because it's Andrea Riseborough. That's all I need to know. She's playing a single mom, and she's a festival queen in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have The Prank. I don't know what this is, bro. The Prank said the genre was hybrid.
Interesting.
And it has Rita Moreno in it. This is made about a prank that happens that, like, I guess, like, sees no end and ends up leading to murder and becomes a whole social media scandal. And it stars Rita Moreno.
Of all people.
I am so intrigued just because I'm curious to see what buffoonery they do with this. The director used to work on Jimmy Kimmel, so clearly there's going to be a comedic element to it.
Okay.
But the cow, bro.
Yes.
The Cow is a mystery thriller.
We are aligned.
From who? The co-creator of Homecoming. Not just the podcast, but one of our favorite shows off of Amazon Prime. He is coming here to do what I believe is his directorial debut. And let me just read you this premise. Upon arriving at a remote cabin in the Redwoods, Kath and her boyfriend find a mysterious younger couple already there. The rental has apparently been double booked. With nowhere else to go, they decide to you need to leave. We'll see how it goes. I really trust this guy in terms of his storytelling. And, I mean, Winona's in it, so
yeah.
It's got the acting chops to go with it. We already saw he had Julia Roberts for Homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
He worked magic there. I'm curious to see what he does with the feature film, and I'm really, really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, same. It's probably the top from my list in this category. All right, documentary spotlight. Were there any movies that stood out to you here? Because there was a couple that I was intrigued by. I'll start at my number 3 was Kids in the Hall, Comedy Punks. Just a look at a legendary comedy group. I mean, I'm like, there's a lot of these kind of retrospective look backs at comedy legends that have been coming out, but they, you know, as long as they're going to pull from the archival material, you're guaranteed to at least laugh your way through it. And then, you know, whether or not it's a good documentary, I'll take what I can get. We'll see after I see it, you know. I was also really intrigued by More Than Robots, less because of the premise, which, you know, it's kind of cool.
Interesting.
I'm into BattleBots, but it's directed by Gillian Jacobs of Community fame.
Yeah.
Her directorial debut for a documentary.
As a feature, I think, yeah. Like for a full length. Yeah. I think she's worked on other ones, so it's always interesting to see like what their approach for that is. Like, why is that the one?
Right, like what brought her to this subject of all subjects.
So that one's going to be pretty interesting. I believe this may be the one, or I guess it's over in Visions. So I'll stick to the good ones before I have a little gripe that I feel South by does a lot.
Oh, yeah?
There is a Tony Hawk doc, which it's supposed to be an intimate, revealing look at Tony Hawk now that we know that he's fully retired. I don't know if you saw. I don't know how big of a Tony Hawk fan you are, but a couple years ago he was doing all the moves because he felt that there was
making him
there was going to be a point where he couldn't. Oh, is he? Man, I felt for him too. I was like, man, this may be the last ollie he does. And yeah, I guess they live on forever.
Yeah.
Still Working 9 to 5 was one that I thought was already out. It's a doc that's looking back at the movie that was made with Lily Tomlin, Dolly Parton. You know, they had a whole song going with it. This is a doc that's still looking back at all of the stuff that movie was talking about. You had mentioned the Nolan Ryan doc, and I was just blanked out and forgot that he was a pitcher. For the MLB. He's got a whole doc that's coming out. So that'll be interesting to watch. There's a Mickey Mouse doc.
Yeah.
I do worry sometimes. Like, are you actually going to get into the nitty gritty or not? But that's where I get into this and another doc that's going to be there. The Gabby Giffords Won't Back Down. Right? Political doc where I'm only laughing because Won't Back Down was a South by doc for AOC. So I just feel like every person's just going to have their version, Won't Back Down. Or Wizards Bringing Down the House, something like that. They're just always going to have the new iteration of what it is. And I'm realizing, like, these don't have to be South by Festival movies that take up a slot. You can make a campaign on YouTube. Make your hour-long video there.
Yeah, but then they get them to speak at the panel.
No, they can still speak at the panel. The movie ends up on Prime anyway. Anyways, some pretty interesting documentaries, and they continue on later because there's even a Casey Neistat directed one.
Yeah, I think we have to, considering we're a YouTube show, at least mention the Casey Neistat.
Ah, my bad. It's right here. Sorry, I thought it was in another category. It's called Under the Influence. Yep. It's right there. about the biggest YouTuber in the world. I'm blinking on his name because I don't have it here.
Dobrik.
What's his name? David Dobrik. And this does not seem like a movie that's going to sympathize with him. You and I were calling it it's PR. It feels many times.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what I was just saying with the other doc we were just mentioning.
Yeah. We'll see how intimate they choose to get with this documentary, but I'm skeptical about this one, at least.
As we usually are.
The one that I'm really excited for in this category is the Ron Howard doc, We Feed People. Not really because Ron Howard is the director, although, that helps, but because it is about Jose Andres, who's like actually probably one of the world's most interesting people, like this world-renowned chef who also runs this amazing charity and was like one of the undeniable heroes of the early COVID situation, where he was helping feed lots and lots of people and helping to keep a lot of restaurants open. So I'm definitely intrigued by the We Feed People documentary.
Interesting.
Yeah. Midnighters?
Let's go for Midnighters.
All right. Bitch Ass. Great title for a midnight movie. You have
Banger.
me sold from 2 words alone. Also, its premise says, Think Don't Breathe meets Squid Games, but black. I like that they called it Squid Games instead of Squid Game.
Because they know it's multiple, man. Yeah, that one looked pretty decent. I would add to that The Cellar. That I had over here. This is from Ireland, and I feel like Ireland tends to make some really good thrillers. Here Before played last year that had Andrea Riseborough, who I was saying, very good dramatic actress. So Ireland's coming in with The Cellar. That's also half a drama about a family who's out living in the woods for a week. But my top 2 would be X, which is also coming out.
Yeah.
Ty West's new film that has Jenna Ortega just continuing to show you that she's the scream queen of 2022.
Yeah, this feels like it could have been in the headliners.
Literally. Also, dude, Jenna Ortega's in the Foo Fighters movie.
Is she really?
Yeah, and she has another horror scene.
She's busy in 2022. She's going to be on those Letterboxd most watched lists.
And then another one would be this movie. It's a horror comedy called Sissy. Because, again, everything's a something comedy. This one comes from Australia. It's about Cecilia and Emma, teenage BFFs who are going to grow old together and never let anything come between them until Alex arrives on the scene. They go for a bachelorette weekend, and then all chaos goes loose. So a lot of movies where people are out in the middle of nowhere. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, very intriguing. Midnight's always a fun category, so I'm sure there'll be at least one or two.
There.
Yeah, they got Watcher from Sundance, which you guys were higher on than I was. But let's go to festival favorites briefly, because this features several movies that we talked about during our Sundance recap. So if you want our thoughts on Second Chance, or our thoughts on Aftershock, or our thoughts on Cha Cha Real Smooth, or Descendant, or Emergency, or Fire of Love, or Master, or TikTok Boom, you can go back to our Sundance recap videos. But I would definitely recommend both Fire of Love and Aftershock highly from that list, as well as one that we haven't had a chance to catch, which is Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Is this on your list too?
Buddy, this is from Telluride.
Yeah.
Marcel the Shell opened a Telluride. Telluride is not a festival. Telluride is a list that you mark off and make sure that you watch everything that they have on there, like people do for con, in my opinion. So the moment I saw that this was here, I am very excited. I kind of want to watch this one in a theater as well. That along with, as I check over here, I think that was my most anticipated out of the other ones that are on there, without a doubt. And again, that one's comedy, family. I feel like playing bingo here. How many comedy whatever can we come up with? And I echo your statements on the other Sundance picks that are playing here.
Yeah, as well as, I think a lot of people love Cha Cha Real Smooth, so it's another chance to catch the Sundance winner.
Whoa, Cha Cha's here?
Yeah, Cha Cha's here.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah,
whoa.
yeah.
Is that in your... Damn. Okay. I missed that one. I didn't mark it down. Good for them.
Any thoughts on the Visions category? This feels like their version of the Sundance Next, the kind of genre-pushing, experimental feature category.
Yeah, there wasn't too much that stood out to me on this one. I usually don't go back for a lot of visions, but I have had visions that have appeared on like my top 10. I guess The Blind Man Who Did Not Want to See Titanic.
Yeah, so I have
was the most intriguing one.
I have that as my winner for best title of the film festival, but it's also got an intriguing premise because it says it's a thriller shot from the perspective of a blind man. I don't know how they'll pull that off, but I'm definitely curious.
Directed by our boy who said, "I didn't see you there." Might be your most favorite from the fest.
Wait, really?
It's a bit, bro. I'm kidding.
Oh, okay, because that would have been really bizarre.
That would have really intrigued you.
Did you also look at Self-Portrait?
I did not. What's that one about?
So the quick plot summary is a portrait of humanity as captured by its surveillance cameras, which sounds
up my alley.
Yeah. I'm very intrigued. It's probably going to be a slow documentary if you had to guess, or if I had to guess at least.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like if a movie like this is here, it's probably doing something pretty cool. It's a very interesting premise, so I definitely have Self-Portrait on my list of movies I want to check out from South by.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Lastly, I don't know if you want to look at episodic premieres or 24 beats per second, but I have a couple that stood out to me from both of these categories.
Go for it. 24 beats per second is very interesting because to me, this is their best documentaries that come from the fest, considering it's also a music fest.
Right.
The other docs, like I said, I'm a little iffy on some of the stuff they do, but I feel they get to the nitty gritty on their music docs, and they pay the most respect.
Yeah, last year they had the Demi Lovato documentary that was here. They had the Charlie XCX documentary that was here. You mentioned,
which was good.
You mentioned Under the Volcano. There was the Polystyrene documentary that also you liked
which
last
just
year.
opened up. Yeah, so they have a lot of good ones. And just to note, the Demi one was not 24 frames. That was a headliner, and that's why that did what I'm saying some of the other docs do.
Right.
This is stacked, dude. What do you have? I mean, you got to share a Crow doc. They have Look at Me, the XXXTentacion doc that people have been waiting for a minute. There's a lot of stuff in this.
Yeah, for me, the ones that I'm really intrigued by are Getting It Back, the story of Simand, about a early funk group that I have been listening to a lot recently just because they're featured in The Worst Person in the World, so that reminded me how much I love their music. So I'm curious to do that one. I'm also curious about I Get Knocked Down, a look at the Chumbawamba group, because like beyond the massive success they had with that one song, they're a very interesting band with like very strong anarchist politics and have made like very aggressive statements. I'm just curious what this documentary is going to cover, how in depth it's going to get, but it could be really intriguing. And then the one that I'm most interested in is probably Anonymous Club, because it's a documentary about one of my favorite indie rock people right now, Courtney Barnett, a really great lyricist and guitarist, but it also describes itself as the antithesis of a rock biography.
Yeah, I'm seeing anti-influencer.
So
is how she promotes herself.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's just like some pretentious language to dress up a pretty typical rock documentary, but maybe they've got something here, and it's.
But you like your music, so
exactly.
There should be some. Okay.
How about you? What stood out from the category? Probably the XXX one.
The X one, the one that you had said, because I remember you were trying to tell me what Chumbawamba was, and I knew the song, I just didn't know. I was like, they're called Chumbawamba, bro. Really good. Rejects looks interesting. It's about the guitarist who I think most people know a lot from Taylor Swift's Folklore recently, talking about his creative process. I really am intrigued for the Cheryl doc, because I feel like when you have someone as iconic and an expansive career like Sheryl Crow, it's like how much can you fit into a doc and actually have it cover her legacy. But yeah, those would be mine from this right here, and I'm just intrigued to see all the other ones and to learn about their backgrounds. Yeah, because that's how I learned about the polystyrene one.
Exactly,
that was very intriguing.
Yeah. The global category had a couple interesting ones as well. I was very curious about two in particular. One of them is Without Prescription, which comes from Puerto Rico.
Okay, we have the same ones, bro.
Awesome. So yeah, this one about a woman searching for her OCD medication who gets trapped in a drug dealer's apartment sounds to me like almost an inversion of the Euphoria episode. But I'm definitely curious about that one. And then I'll leave the last one to you because I think we do have the same two from this category. Women Do
I have
Cry.
Women Do Cry, coming from Bulgaria and France, and it is starring none other than her second movie of this festival, Borat 2 breakthrough star Maria Bakalova.
Yeah.
That's intriguing to me. Another thing I want to know is that they do call this one global, right? And you're seeing the different places where it comes from. But when you go to midnight, half those movies are Russian, Irish, they're from Australia. That's one cool thing that I love about South by. They're not really splitting it in that way. The midnight is everything. A lot of the narrative ones, as you know, it's not called U.S. dramatic. It's just called the narrative competition. And there's a lot from all over the world. So the global one I find funny because it's just like extra global, by the way.
Yeah.
Brought to you by a movie.
Exactly.
Hey, but if it brings us something like this, I'm very much looking forward to Women Do Cry.
All right, let's wrap it up with a look at the episodic premieres because we normally cover, the big movie premieres at festivals, but South by has been trying to get more and more. I mean, a lot of festivals have been trying to get more and more into the TV game, but South by has done it pretty successfully, and we have mentioned that Atlanta is one of the headliners. I'm definitely excited for a new season of Atlanta. But I think they've got some other pretty interesting shows lined up here. Was there anything that stood out to you, or something that you have on your radar already?
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I mean, not to say too much of the Halo show, and obviously the We Crash show. Those are big shows that people are looking forward to, and it's smart to have them there. The DMZ show. This is coming from the graphic novel. I don't know how many have read this one.
I haven't.
And they're adapting it. I don't even know where this is playing, but I know that they're going to have the opening that's there, and it is produced by Ava DuVernay. So, like, very curious because, yeah, I rented all of these off the library, man. I was there going one by one off of the trades, so I'm very much looking forward to DMZ.
Interesting.
And I didn't even know about the Magic one, dude. I'm, like, so waiting for the Showtime one, the Lakers one. They call me Magic. Supposed to be looking back at Magic Johnson and his impact on everything, so that'll be interesting because I guess that's a series too.
Yep. How about The Last Movie Stars, directed by Ethan Hawke, a 6-part miniseries looking at Paul Newman?
Damn. Are they playing the whole thing?
I don't know. It says only 55 minutes, so I bet you would not. But
so personally for us, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Another reason why we don't watch a lot of these. Like A24 had that Instant Life Sea Monkeys biopic. We try to watch all that in one go because they gave it to us. Sometimes, like, you're really gonna wait in line just to watch a 30-minute
episode
pilot
of TV.
Yeah, you want the whole thing.
Yep.
But hey, it's intriguing to have these on your radar, considering that South by chosen for the lineup.
Absolutely.
Anything else from this that you think is pretty cool?
Not too much else. I mean, I don't know if you looked into like the episodic pilot competition or the shorts and stuff. Like, we will check a bunch of that stuff out when we can. But I feel like I like going into a lot of those blind and just kind of like picking and choosing as I need to fill space.
Yeah, they do a title card competition. I know they do a ending credits competition. So they do a bunch of like interesting competitions that they have where people submit.
I like that the shorts are also so divided up. They have midnight shorts and local shorts, and
that's good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they always do their Texas shorts and then the high school shorts. Yeah, they're really good with that. So we'd be going into the shorts as well once we start watching a lot of them. Some of them we did actually give shout outs to over in our Sundance coverage, but we will get all of those covered as we get closer to the festival. I don't know if there's any other tidbits to mention in terms of scheduling or, I don't know, other stuff to know about.
Yeah, I mean, you have a little more experience with it than I do, and we haven't really had a look at the festival platform yet. So maybe things will change once the platform is live, and we can talk about how to actually navigate your way through it. Because last year it was a little bit confusing. I know Pink Sweets mentioned earlier that it feels less user friendly. It definitely was less user friendly last year, but we'll still try to find our way around it.
Hey, they got a tech conference going on at the same time. I'm sure someone can figure it out. But in terms of going there, if you are going to South by, make sure you try to check out as many theaters as possible. Make sure that you're watching something at an Alamo Draft House that they have around there. I'm looking forward to trying a lot of the theaters I didn't get to the last time I was there, like the Violet Theater, some of the ones that are a little bit out of the way. But of course, catch a movie at the Paramount. it is paramount that you catch a movie at the Paramount for South by. That is their big venue. That's their, like, Eccles and Egyptian, I guess, kind of mixed together. Maybe the Ritz Alamo was their Egyptian. Yeah, like that's the big venue where a lot of these are having their premieres at. So if you are able to go there, do that. Watch movies, eat some brisket, some barbecue ribs, and just have a good time.
Awesome. Yeah. It seems like it'll be a fun time. We'll definitely have more updates on South by as we go. But that's about it for this episode. Just one last reminder before we go that if you have any more questions about Oscars stuff, I know we had a couple in the live stream that I didn't get to. We are collecting some questions for an upcoming episode where we're talking about if we picked the Oscars, if we picked our favorites in all the categories. Will be an upcoming episode of the show, so we'll include a little bit of a Q&A about the Oscars in that episode, so make sure you hit us with our questions. But that's about all for this installment of Intercut. You can catch more from me, Zach Shevich, by following me on Twitter, Instagram, or Letterboxd at @ZShevich. Art, where can people find more from you?
You can find me over at LME Explain on Google Maps, getting my directions straight to Terry Black's to eat that brisket. On Letterboxd, logging movies depending on how delicious the brisket smelled. I'm just sticking to the smelling rating that we were talking about yesterday. But then every week here at the Intercut Podcast.
You can listen to every episode of the Intercut Podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, your favorite podcatcher. I happen to like Overcast. And then make sure you subscribe not just to the audio feed, but to the video feed as well on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/IntercutPod, where we are live streaming a couple times per week sometimes. And you get to catch our bright, smiling faces as we break down the latest in entertainment. You can find new episodes of Intercut every Monday and coming to you throughout the week as we do these new shorter segments, longer segments, different segments. We're figuring some stuff out, but we also got our weekly or weekend must-watches coming out on Mondays and live streaming those at 3 p.m. Eastern, so make sure you come hang with us and watch those videos. Please leave us a comment, like the videos. Consider heading over to iTunes to give us a much requested 5-star review. Shout out to our listeners in Ireland for putting us on the TV and film podcast charts out there. Like our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram pages. All of them are at Intercut Pod to get updates throughout the week from me, from Art, from all the guests that we feature here on Intercut. And head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/IntercutPod to support the show for as little as $1 per month. Thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, let's go to Lizzo's panel. I kind of want to hear, she's a keynote speaker. Got to hear what the South by keynote is all about this year.
Go for it.
Yeah.